Yaho, it's Angel, your Kentucky Fried Gal, and welcome to class because today we're doing a Gyaru deep dive over all sorts of things, everything that I know, TikTok misconceptions, all of the above. And ignore the lack of nails, I'm kind of in between sets right now, but you know how that is. Now, this is not my usual type of long form content as I'm a streamer, so I usually post gaming Twitch VODs, but I also post Gyaru content and lifestyle in my short form, as I mentioned before. And Gyaru is something near and dear to my heart. It's a big part of my identity. This was a Gyaru video that just could not be short form. I needed to talk to you guys about this because I have so much to say. I have so much knowledge up in here that I need to relay to you guys. We need to have a little chat. We need to discuss a little bit. And I will try to cover as much as I possibly can. So let's get into it. I am going to be reading off of a notes page. So let's hop over to my streaming setup and so I can read off of my computer and chat with you guys. Holy quality change, right? We've got a better mic, we've got a better camera. Welcome to my Twitch streaming setup, which is where we're going to be filming the rest of this video. I'm going to be looking down here and I'm going to be reading the notes that I've been compiling, all of my thoughts, all of the information that I could possibly think of. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go ahead and open up my notes and let's get started. I also want to preface this by I know this video is going to get a bit of hate and upset a few people, but that is not really the intention behind this or the reason behind this, and I just want to share my decade worth of research in a bite-sized chunk of information. You don't have to agree with my personal takes, but that won't change how I feel on it. This is not directed towards anyone and not meant in any disrespect for anyone. It is strictly informational and clearing up misunderstandings I see online. I also want to add a few hot takes of mine that I will disclose as a personal concept. If I miss anything else that you may be wondering, please ask down in the comments below and I will reply there, or if I miss by the end of the video, I might make a part 2, but watch all the way through before submitting questions as I will cover FAQs as well. But let's get into the video. Let's get started with part 1, which is why trust me? Why trust me as a Gyaru to give you the information that I have in my noggin? I've loved this style since I was 12 years old, which now I'm 26, so that's been a really long time. I've been fixated on this style and it has really changed a lot of things about me and my life. It is quite literally my autistic special interest. I am diagnosed autistic and this is my #1 special interest. So if that says anything, I've done a lot of research. I don't focus on making informative gal content simply because I feel like there's plenty of gals that give great information and I always kind of wonder what I can contribute to that. But now given there's a lot of TikTok misconceptions, I feel like it's a good time for me to kind of step in the little bubble here. To me, I am gal and it's just part of my life and self-identity, so I don't have to strictly make Gyaru content to be a Gyaru creator. I also have been actively watching Gyaru makeup tutorials and what's in my bag videos by gals when Kawaii Patin was still actively releasing them over 10 years ago. I've had 2 Gyarusas in the past and now I'm kind of writing solo, but I'm also 26 and kind of fading out of that part of my life, and now I'm focusing more on online careers. I have talked with a few well-known Gyaru creators in the Gaijin community when I was baby gal in the Sekai no Gyarusa on Facebook between 2020 and 2022, so I've also had my fair bit of concrete that has kind of gotten me to the point that I'm at. I also have been doing Gyaru for we're going on 6 years. Can you believe that? I've been doing Gyaru for almost 6 years. That's crazy. So I've served my time as baby Gyaru. Now, I might seem a little less credible because I had to take a full year away from doing Gyaru simply because I did face a housing crisis where I was homeless for a little bit and I was couch surfing. I had to sell my expensive Gyaru things like my magazines and my brand. Now we're kind of restarting over again, but I still have all the experience that I had before and still retain all of the knowledge, and I actively try to seek out new knowledge every time that I can. If you stay, thank you so much for entrusting me with your Gyaru information. Now, as we are covering things that are pertaining to me and my credibility, I do also want to mention something that I have seen in the Gyaru community that does impact me as well as a lot of gals that I kind of have a problem with, that I do want to mention that I am an autistic gal, which means I have to take it day by day. Sometimes I have sensory and like energy needs. We do have a big ableism problem within the Gyaru community. If you feel someone's disability makes them not Gyaru enough to not be able to do Gyaru every single day of their life, then I do feel like we should be reevaluating ourselves. As long as you do the Gyaru makeup when you can, you're still Gyaru, and those that say otherwise, I do believe have an ableism problem. I believe in a Gyaru world where we help and uplift other gals, breaking beauty standards and stereotypes, not being mean or judgmental, but being excited and uplifting when we see another gal. I do not believe you have to be mean to be gal. I don't know where that idea came from, but we are breaking beauty standards, not breaking other people's confidence and self-worth. Now, that's enough about me, but let's move on to part 2, the reason why I'm filming this. My love for gal is why I feel like I need to speak up. I don't like drama or conflict, and I want to see a world where gal is booming and everyone is being true to themselves and having fun, and we all help each other learn and grow and start the Gyaru takeover. Just kidding. But I don't want to see something I've cared about basically my entire life get ruined by spreading false information and entirely changing what the label of gal means, as well as being horrible to those who are interested in it. I want us to be free and not feel trapped in a box, but at the same time, never forgetting why we do this to begin with and why gals speak to those of us that love it. I see users every day arguing that gal is mind, gal has no rules, gal is this, gal is that. Don't forget that there are different substyles, but can't name one that fits what they're trying to justify, etc. Can I be gal if? And it's a battle between baby gals and experienced gals everywhere. Even those that don't understand everything about our culture, speaking up and trying to get involved, making this a bit messy for those trying to actually understand this. TikTok gets a lot wrong and teaches new gals the wrong ideas and spreads like a disease that will kill Gyaru a second time. Yes, again. We are lucky that it has come back strong enough to gain magazines, brands, and merch launches. We have things launching in 2025, 2026 still, when it was supposed to die out in the mid-2010s. No matter what lifestyle you lead or what style you love, do not be exclusionary, racist, ableism, etc. Keeping a style you did not form and speaking up in place of Japanese gals is not cute. Lots of gals idolize the look of darker POC women, and B-gal or BK was literally made in the image of black foreigners. Japanese gals just found super beautiful. Even if it was done a bit poorly, it should be reclaimed back by the black gals and are evidence that black gals can be gyaru and should be gyaru and are even a major role in the style and in the community. Just because of someone's financial situation where they can't afford a $200 belt or a $500 jacket, just because of someone's skin color or their mental or physical setbacks, even location can make it hard to achieve your ideal lifestyle of being gyaru as a random person on the internet in a super niche worldwide subculture. If we gatekeep, exclude, and drive people away, we won't keep brands coming back, and they'll die right like they did before. Brands come back because people come back wanting it. It needs to be big so we can have brands made. Supply and demand. Fashion is consumerism, and you have to have enough demand for them to supply to you. If you get rid of gals, you get rid of the demand or the product. Even if you thrift, you are still consuming. Now let's go on to part 3. What is Gyaru? Here is the big informative section. We're going to go over gal history and everything that I can compile. Gyaru is based in rejection of traditional Japanese beauty standards, which emphasizes pale skin and a demure appearance. By default, this means to tan and be a bit over the top, be a bit loud. Of course, this evolved over the years and the gal standard has changed. Gals are girls that don't want to be placed in a box of social standards, trying to express themselves freely. You may know the original gal motto, get wild and be sexy, but what does it mean? This is a line from a famous Eurobeat song with the same title by E-Girls from 2009, E-Girls with a Z, now synonymous with Gyaru culture that has been adopted as our catchphrase. It is rebellious and focused on individual style and freedom. Get wild refers to breaking free from societal norms, being uninhibited, which means expressing one's feelings or thoughts unself-consciously and without restraint, and expressing oneself without reservation or simply without doubt. Be sexy is a declaration of confidence and empowerment. It's about defining and owning one's own sense of sexiness and femininity rather than conforming to an external standard. This also means be sexy to yourself and not for men, not for others. Do what makes you feel cute, do what makes you feel sexy, and do what makes you feel confident. Now this is my hot take. I equate Gyaru with feminism, okay? Now hear me out, hear me out. Gyaru live for doing things for themselves, not for society, not for men, protesting Japanese traditionalism. Feminism, by definition, is a range of socio-political movements aiming to establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes, aiming to dismantle patriarchal structures and challenge stereotypes that limit opportunities based on gender. Sounds a lot like the gal goal, right? Dismantle the patriarchy and the idea of beauty and self-worth, the idea that women are too fragile and unable to be independent, too demure, too dainty, forced to fit in a box, or shunned for thinking outside of it. Gal in itself is a social-political movement confronting Japanese conformity and traditional ideals simply by existing. While there are Gyaru-o or gal men, the style is dominated by women, and the men often want to achieve the same goals that the women do. Gals are women with some men, existing for themselves, taking up space, not conforming because men in our society, aka the patriarchy, say we should be submissive and docile. Gals are go-getters, never giving up, working hard for what they want in life. They might seem lazy as their goals aren't always what societal goals are, but they fight when they want something. Sometimes being yourself means appearing wild to others, through clothes, through makeup, or bold actions. Gals are sexy, cutesy, and unapologetically themselves, unafraid to stand out. It's a line that means be yourself, have fun, and don't worry about fitting into anyone's ideas but your own. Being wild does not mean be a menace to society and flip tables and raise hell. And even though some gals did, it just means to be confident in yourself to the point that other people might label you as wild. Remember, this is based off of Japanese ideals, not American European ideals of what is wild. So my makeup, my hair, and my shirt in Japan, I would be considered wild for looking like this. I also kind of tend to run a little bit on the loud side, and my speech and my mannerisms are a bit extravagant and over the top sometimes, which also would be considered wild behavior in Japan. While Get Wild and Be Sexy was the Heisei era model, which Heisei is more 90s 2000s, Reiwa Gyaru coined the term gal is mind. Reiwa sits more in 2019 to present day. 2026 is where we're at right now as of filming. Now, gal is mind does not mean gal is mindset only. That does not mean that aesthetics and the makeup don't matter. This does, however, refer to the same mindset behavior of get wild, be sexy. The attitude and mindset of every gyaru is a little bit rebellious. You have to be to break standards and tradition. A self-loving attitude focused on fashion and makeup that reflects who you are rather than just a trendy look. Standing out, rejecting social pressures, and not taking life too seriously is the complete gal mindset. It's like the square theory, right? All squares are rectangles by definition, but rectangles are not squares. Gals with the mindset and makeup are gal. Gal without the make and with the mindset only are not fully gal. Now, what distinguishes the gal traditional look? Gal is known for eye-enlarging makeup with bold, flashy, sexy, and cute styles. Sweet styles of gyaru are referred to as amagal or amai, meaning sweet in Japanese. It does not always require a white namida bukuro like the ones that I have, which is the Japanese term for eggyosal, which if you're referring to Korean makeup, we can use eggyosal, but for gyaru, since it's a Japanese style, we try to use the term namida bukuro. It also does not always require a droop, but most of the popular styles do. Semi-natural gal make does exist, and it was very popular in the 2010s, but it always requires lenses and lashes to appear gal. That is arguably the most important piece in any make, but depending on what you're going for, more bold styles don't really rely on lenses as much. Back in the 90s, gal makeup was much more natural, but it was very heavily tanned, and the colors were very recognizable with platform boots, bleached hair, and miniskirts. The bold, flashy, sexy 90s and Y2K style is a clothing standard that everyone thinks of, as it was the most popular in these eras, and modern gals typically stick with older trends with the 90s and Y2K interest boom. Clothing can take inspiration from anywhere, but makeup is the #1 most important. Once the 2010s era left, styles like amekaji, himekaji, and other simple styles, they grew and they changed like all fashion does, but they went out of style or became something new outside of gal. That doesn't make the 2010s any less gyaru just because it's so different from every other era that we've seen. Shibuya is the main city where gals exist, and Shibuya 109 was once the mall of gal, where to get all of your favorite gal things. It was the gal hotspot, right? It has evolved over time and lost its gyaru shops, but maintained still to be a gal destination. With the revitalization of gal, slowly gal is being reintegrated into 109, which is super awesome to see. Now that we know what gyaru is, let's get into Gyaru history. Now, I like to start Gyaru history all the way back in the 80s, which gal kind of has a long history of where it started. Japan's bubble era from 1986 to 1991, in which real estate and stock market prices were greatly inflated, resulting in an economic boom, and suddenly a lot of people had a lot more money to burn, right? Along with the economic growth, party culture, right, became skyrocketing in popularity, and techno music gained traction, okay? This is when Eurobeat and Para Para started. In 1982 specifically, the term Para Para was coined for the vocal sound of like mimicry of techno music. Para para para. Ay, ay. Then Eurobeat took off in the mid-90s, roughly 93 to 95, I want to say. Now the group Para Para All-Stars, we love their videos, right? They became the #1 group in 1999, which are gal icons now. Then Para Para Paradise was created, as we all know and love. Then came along Namie Amuro's debut in the 90s, where they mimicked her style, starting the Gyaru fashion we know and love. It was never meant to be ugly. It started off by copying their favorite idols of all time, and Amuro was known for her tan and breaking beauty standards. Then magazines became major influence, of course, too, starting with magazines like Pop Teen, TV Idol, and Vivi, featuring Amuro, which evolved into gals getting their own magazine lines like Egg later. The next major idol I like to go to is Ayumi Hamazaki, which is the one who popularized Shiro Gyaru, or a pale gal style, while keeping a very 90s look. That's really when we started seeing gals not have to be tanned. Then we have Kodakumi, which is a 3rd-gen artist popularizing sexy looks, agejos, ageha, and the return of tans. In the 2010s, Kana Nishino was a huge icon, and this is where our last major idol came from before we no longer were in mainstream music. Black Diamond, the Gyarusa, and Tsubasa Masuaka, which is also known as Milky Bunny, which is her music title, came along making music as well as many others in the 2010s, taking the gal music industry into their own hands. While gal started in techno and Eurobeat, it has now evolved into R&B, rap, drift funk in the culture while still keeping the original interest in Eurobeat. We got another hot take. Arguably, Gyaru is a music-based style. Okay. Gals are still making music to this day. The egg models, the loa loa models. Remember, even our motto is pulled from Eurobeat music. Our culture and style began in the club. It forms everything we do and everything we believe in as gal. Not everyone would agree with this, but given our history and where it started, I personally think it's hard to deny. A music-based subculture is a group that defines itself by sharing an interest in particular musical genre, Eurobeat and techno, right? And its associated elements like fashion, Gyaru, aesthetics, Gyaru, and social values. Get wild and be sexy. Be yourself regardless of social stigmas and beauty standards. Is that not a social value? I feel like it is. That's the definition and breakdown of gal. Still, a huge part of Gyaru culture is clubbing, dancing, raves, party culture. Even Ganguro Cafe and Gyaru clubs exist because of this. Look at Loa Loa on YouTube. They're still partying it up, posting their little party videos. Almost every gal likes to do para para and post para para TikTok videos of them dancing to Eurobeat, which is a huge signature pastime. If it's not music-based, then why music-based shaped? Okay, now we're on to the 2010s era, which is my favorite, and it's the most accessible, the most dolly, simple and easy, which is why it boomed. Kuro Gyaru trends in the 2010s got so inaccessible and hard for the average gal to maintain. It is believed that that is what killed the subculture after it was once so popular by shifting from accessible to all to something so extreme. Hair had to be professionally styled for Sujimoris for members like Black Diamond and such, which is why it's so important for us to embrace the softer aesthetics and substyles too, so that we can keep gal brands existing and stop gals from ending forever this time. Now, don't get me wrong, that does not mean we accept anything as gal makeup. Douyin, Ozang, that makeup does not count as gal makeup, even though some people online like to think it does. Douyin, gorgeous. Ozang, gorgeous. If that's your style, that's your style. You don't have to be Gyaru, and that's okay. Kuro Gyaru styles getting so extreme and ending gal is kind of similar to what's happening now on TikTok, where gals only want to embrace the more extreme styles, and if you do this, you will abolish gal a second time if you continue. If we don't acknowledge the fact that Paktin and Ranzuki and magazines like this and softer styles are still Gyaru. Now, let's talk about 2016, right? I got some beef with 2016. 2016 is when Neo Gyaru came out, not the song, not Neo Gyaru WAP, but there's an actual style called Neo Gyaru, which was the last style to come out in attempts to revitalize gal. which instead this was coined as the end of Gyaru, where Japanese gals rejected it entirely from the gal label as a whole for not being even remotely close to any gal style, losing the meaning in the baseline. You can look up nail Gyaru and find the fashion of it. There's some makeup tutorials and stuff on Kawaii Pakteen, and you can see that it's not Gyaru, even though the media tried to coin it under the Gyaru term, and literally Japanese gals said, "This is not gal, what are you doing? Gal's over, gal's done." That was basically the final nail in the coffin until 2018, when Egg magazine just randomly came back up out of nowhere. At this point, the world was taken over by storm. Everything shut down. Everyone became isolated, tons of free time on their hands, a need for something to do, and a boom of interest and self-expression. Now we're in the COVID era in 2020. The coronavirus affected the entire world, locking us in our homes. Then, Avex, which is a music company in Japan, decided that it was a great time to test the waters and send out a Pada Pada and Stay Home, releasing tons of Pada Pada archives for people to watch and practice while being cooped up. In the West, somehow gal got a lot of attention, so tons of people decided to try it out, fell in love with it, and more Gyaru magazines started to come back, one after another. TikTok got a hold of Gyaru a little too hard. This is where a lot of non-gals decided they were experts after recognizing our culture as a trend and something that could get them clicks and views, and baby gals were misinformed, young teens wanted to be part of something trendy but not knowing really what they were getting into or what it was all about. As of now in 2026, there's still a Gyaru trend on platforms like TikTok, but it seems to gradually be slowing down, and I wonder what the future of Gyaru looks like. Now that we've covered all of the history that I can think of for the meantime, let's move on to part 5. Now we're getting into Gyaru stereotypes and misconceptions. Gal stereotype, seen as too loud, rebellious, dirty, promiscuous, masculine, and no good in society. Now, we might be loud, but that's because we don't think we need to be quiet and reserved, soft-spoken, and we believe in validating our words and thoughts when society doesn't. We are ourselves, and that can be contrasting to what society wants. We might dress sexy, enjoy promiscuous activities, and have associations with sex work, but that doesn't mean we are all promiscuous. Now, this depends on the person's interests and desires, not the style. Gals simply want the option for sexuality to be a choice, not to be shunned, and also not to be forced. Being dirty stems from the homeless population in the gal community in the 90s due to parental and social rejection based on profiling. Profiling is the practice of categorizing people based on personal characteristics to make generalizations, predictions, or decisions about them. Basically, if they look at you, they're gonna make an assumption and put you in a category, and unfortunately, because a lot of gals were homeless, they were also seen as dirty. But because a lot of gals were homeless and still trying to earn money to get by, there was a lot of paid sexual encounters for gals, and then it kind of became a thing that gals were known to be promiscuous. And unfortunately, because it's difficult for gals to be employed with the looks that they are, a lot of them do gravitate towards the sex work and the pornography. It's a career path that lets them still dress and look the way that they want to and make a decent chunk amount of money. Let's talk about this TikTok misconception situation going on, and let's put it in the real terms, okay? Bathroom Gyaru is not a real thing. It's just a way to hate on other gals and put people down, making them feel more gal and more important than somebody that they're commenting about. Adults have full-time jobs that have strict dress codes and formal wear. Minors might have dress codes or go to private schools that, just like in Japan, don't allow makeup, and minors may still have parents controlling everything that they do, and they have to wait until they leave the situation. It's fine to do it not every day, and just on your days off, and just at home. Life happens, disabilities happen, responsibilities happen. Life and Gyaru go on. The term for bathroom Gyaru is pa Gyaru or hanpa Gyaru, or half-baked gal, a gal without confidence and without a carefree attitude. Basically, in Japan, if you have no Gyaru charisma, you're not a real gal. If you don't show up as gal because of a lack of confidence and a worry of judgment, you'll be a half-baked gal or hanpa Gyaru or pa Gyaru. You're still Gyaru as long as you put in the effort when you can be Gyaru. Let's talk about the modern idea of gyarusas, okay? Because I think it's gotten a little distorted and people don't really realize what gyarusas used to be. Now, gyarusas are a friend group of gals, yes. Gals are social, but not all gals have one. Now, in history, gyarusas were often for selling things, business exchange, promotional work, events, etc. and less of let's be friends and hang out to the max to look more gyaru. Now, gyarusa are much harder to come by, especially with gal being very, very small, only a few thousand worldwide, and it's easier to have a unit or circle if all of us were concentrated in an area like Tokyo. Don't put pressure on yourself to find a gyaru circle or a unit. Some gyarusas can be messy if you don't choose carefully. I know, the first one I've ever been, I was there. If you were the last gal on Earth and you wouldn't have a circle, you would still be a gal. This next misconception, I understand where you guys get the idea for this, but gyaru is not meant to scare off men, okay? Now, the gal's speech with like the rolling Japanese R's and more intense sound was developed to scare off men, not necessarily the way gals look. And not all gyaru speech was created this way. Gyaru-go or gyaru speech is a blend of harsh-sounding speech, but also there's lingo that's just supposed to be cutesy and fun. Only very specific gyaru-go was meant to scare off men, and this was mostly done in the 90s when a lot of older men would prey on young high school girls that idolized Namiya Amuro, thinking they were loose and promiscuous, right? The stereotype. This is a lot more about the Japanese pedophilia problem than gyarus. More traditionally ugly styles are true to be based off Japanese folklore and not meant to be pretty and delicate, but that is a small fraction of gal, so little it's almost insignificant, and when it first came out, heavier styles weren't associated with gal until the Japanese media chimed in on these girls, and these two types of gals were put into one label in the 90s. There were club gals, which were the Amuro gals, and the extreme gals that no one considered to be gal at first. But of course, media pushes the most extreme ideas and concepts to get views and to boost production value, right? Then that gains the most light and it merges the two definitions and cultures into one. I do not know at all where this came from, who started this misconception, or like what happened here, but gyaru did not come from Levi jeans. The term gyaru initially was referring to energetic, fashionable young women, which first traced back into the 70s. Levi jeans may or may have not made an ad targeting these girls using the term to push their product, but gal didn't come from a jean commercial, and more use of the word in magazines like Gal's Life in 1978. Even still, I can't find the evidence or any images of this elusive Levi's gyaru ad that started gyaru fashion. Gyaru stereotypes are extremely harmful to modern-day gyaru, continuing the idea that we are crazy, loud, mean, dirty, alcoholic, party animals, prevents gals from being able to live their life. Baby gals in Japan are being taught by their ex-gal mothers now to be polite and to be respectful despite their style and appearance, to end the ideas of Japanese gyaru being bad blemishes on society, and the hopes to change gal from a negative outlook to something more positive and reformative in Japan. Speed round! Okay, to be gyaru, you do not have to tan depending on your substyles. Substyles were just small trends that gained more popularity than others. You do not have to fit a substyle if you know what makes gal look gal. And you do your hair and makeup accordingly, okay? It does not matter your race or ethnicity. Yes, you have to do the makeup. It is a makeup-based style that is not arguable. Most gals believe you have to be lifestyle to be true gal. Yes, it depends person to person. You do not have to party all the time. Yes, you should listen to gal music. Pada is massive in the gal hobbies, and Dave Rogers is a gal icon, okay? You can't convince me otherwise. No, you do not have to have super long nails. Yes, you have to do your hair. Yes, it can be natural. Yes, you can shave your head. No, you don't have to do extreme hair like Sujimori or styles popular in Hime unless you're doing Hime or your substyle just requires big hair. Yes, you can have dark hair and be gal. No, it's not as common, just look up references. Yes, obviously gals can have colored hair, they do all the time. You do not have to be skinny. Just look at Meg from Loalo. Although she is retired from gal now, she was featured in Loalo and helped run Gal Make Studio, and she is not your typical skinny Japanese girl, right? I loved her, she was super cute. Yes, there's a ton of Japanese girls you don't see in the magazines doing gyaru. Not every gal is a model. We don't know all the gals by name, and we won't know all the gals by name. Now, if you need references, Google it like so. Dark hair gyaru, natural gyaru makeup, pale gyaru or shiro gyaru, tan gyaru or kuro gyaru, plus size gyaru. It's hard to find, but it exists if you look hard enough for it. You can Google gyaru with shaved head. They are most commonly found in styles like ora ora. You do not have to have straight hair. No, you do not have to have curly hair. You don't technically have to wear lenses, but most of the time, looks without lenses are super hard to pull off and pass as gyaru by foreigners. Short, long, curly, no bangs, with bangs, etc. Any gyaru hair there's a magazine scan out there for it all. I get this question a lot as well. Can I be gyaru if I'm shy or not outgoing? If you are too shy, aka too self-conscious, to be comfortable with people judging you, then no, you probably can't be gyaru. You will be judged, criticized, looked at both in real life and online. People will stare at you, absolutely no doubt. A lot of gals will also judge your makeup online. Even if you look super good and can hold up to the Japanese gals, there will always be somebody saying, this isn't gal, this is not gal enough, or blah, 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 here's my opinion on how you should do your makeup. Just do your makeup how you want within the parameters of what makes makeup look gyaru. If you can't wear the fashion and makeup in public, you will not be considered gyaru and you will be a pa gyaru. Clubbing and partying is a root of the culture, but a horrible stereotype that gals do nothing but drink and party. I personally believe we should not continue that stereotype for the sake of gals' image in society like we discussed before. But simply put, if you love gyaru but lack confidence, gyaru can teach you the confidence. You just have to put yourself out there and be able to take it basically and build the confidence within yourself while doing gyaru. I was not confident when I first started gyaru, but gyaru is what gave me confidence. Okay, what are gal hobbies? Gal hobbies include pada, karaoke, clubbing, raving, blogging, doing your makeup, DIY crafts like dekoden, reading magazines and manga, going to the beach or sunbathing and tanning, watching makeup videos, doing your nails, self-care activities like skincare, making TikToks, especially gal trends, going shopping, grabbing food or boba, in gyaru of course. Some gals even love fitness and cars. Gym gyaru are so cool, and try watching Initial D or drift races. Car and bike culture is very heavily intertwined with gyaru. Featured in videos, magazines, gals are even featured in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and a hot take and food for thought is I'm convinced that gal and Initial D is why Eurobeat is associated with a lot of car enthusiasts to this day. Some Gaijin gals, including myself, are also from small towns or areas not heavily populated enough to have nearby events or much outing activities. And some just may not want to do that and focus on other hobbies. Plus, in 2025 USA, a lot of malls and public spaces in less populated areas are now empty ghost towns with a sparse and struggling food court, and a lot of clubs just don't exist out here. Alcoholism and addiction to the nightlife is not cutesy, and it is a horrible bad stereotype in gyaru that hurts Japanese gals trying to support their lifestyle. Homelessness and starvation should not have to be the penalty for self-expression. This is another hot take, okay? Personally, I don't think anyone under 16 should do gyaru, as it has a lot of sexy, extreme tones in the majority of styles. Minors can really only do hime, himekaji, amekaji, boho, kigurumin, or things like these, and even then, it can appear sexualized by many men. But no agejo, obviously, as a style came from hosting, which is the equivalent of Japanese sex work. And I personally would rule out looks like tsuyome, as it can be kind of inappropriate for minors and lead them to be prey online. Bra exposure, a lot of skin is very common. I don't support the look of the kogal page from Egg. It's been an issue since the 90s of kogals being sexualized by weird, creepy men, and those under 16 probably don't know how to handle that and stay safe. It's too risky and potentially harmful. Grooming and predatory behavior is too common already. When young girls dress sexy, it makes it so much worse. Okay, drum roll, because we're going over the rules of gyaru. Yay! Yes, gyaru has rules, okay? The number one rule of gal is be authentic to yourself. Gals always win is another modern catchphrase being used. You can recognize gyaru as gyaru because the rules it has. Otherwise, being gal would not be visibly recognizable if it had zero rules. Gyaru created their own beauty standards to rebel against societal ones. If gal was truly just a mindset, it would not be physically recognizable, and anyone anywhere you see, no matter their clothes, hair, and makeup, would be gal. Which we all know is just not true. We all achieve to look gal, right? So the argument to me is kind of invalid. Now, if you're a weeb, okay? We all love this anime, okay? As said in Super Gals, the ironclad rule of gal. Yes, these are the actual rules that have been discussed within the anime itself. Rule number 1. Always win fairly at anything. This means be honest and never cheat your way through life or lie to look better. Rule number 2 is never run from a fight, aka have guts. Always stand up for yourself and be courageous. Don't let people push you around, but this doesn't mean get into physical fights. It just means have some bravery to be yourself and stand up for yourself and your beliefs. Rule number 3 is always get at least 8 hours of sleep to prevent breakouts. Skincare is a must for your make to look good and your health to be a priority. Rule number 4 is if you want it, go get it. Don't give up, don't take no for an answer when it comes to your goals, and work hard for what you want in life. Don't just sit around waiting, take action. Then rule number 5 is got your crosshairs on it? Get it. Same as rule 4 basically. Number 6 is don't waste money. Make sure you spend it well and don't blow it on unimportant part-time happiness that doesn't add to your real happiness and quality of life. Yes, your looks add to your happiness and quality of life. Duh. Rule number 7 is gals gotta have heart. Passion is everything. Then rule number 8 is never seek or use dirty money. Have some dignity and self-respect. Do your best to keep your money source clean. No crime, gals, okay? You can't be gal in jail, even if orange can be cute as fuck on Kuro Gyaru. Rule number 9 is never save money, spend it right away. Now, I don't know if I can agree with this one, but if Ron says it's an ironclad rule, then it must be, right? Never forget to be financially responsible, at least a little, so you can afford this stuff, right? We never want to be broke, homeless gals that have to give up this lifestyle and look, right? Been there, done that. Never again. Rule number 10, never bring down a gal. Don't bully or hate on other gals. Lan herself said so, okay? Okay, now I need to talk to my baby gals potentially watching this. Advice is not bullying on its own, so please do not treat it as such. I won't lie and say all gals are kind. There are plenty that will try to give you advice just to tear you down, but that's not how it should be. If you aren't ready to listen to experienced gals, then you aren't ready to ask advice. If you want natural makeup, natural features, Gyaru is not for you, and that's okay. You do not have to be gal. The trend will die, but we will still be here as we've always been. Baby gals, post your references with your attempts, okay? Use one reference at a time, maybe at max 2, okay? And keep the 2 very similar to each other. Post the photos you looked at to get your result so gals can help you achieve what you want to look like and what you were going for instead of giving advice for the wrong styles. The baby gals who have a drive to show true Gyaru, baby gals that admire the gals in Japan and want to keep this tiny bit of culture and lifestyle alive, thank you for being here. Be ready to evaluate every bit of reference you have down to a T, okay? Study your references, lenses, lens recognition, lash type, blush placement, eyeliner shape, lower lash line, brands, shades, dupes, all of the small detail. It will help you understand the style, even to a point you might not be able to explain why the thing really elevates your Gyaru look. Now, please, if you are just starting out, do not spend all of your money on clothes and brand. Start with what you own, and anyone saying you need to have that $500 scalped vintage belt, Mars set, Alba Rosa coat, any of that, they are not setting you up for success. Most gals use pretty basic, easy to come by pieces that you can thrift if you live in a pretty major area. Start with the makeup above all else, and then look up hair references. If you want more simple and easy to do hair references, look up the hair references from the 2010s. They offer a lot more natural and easy styles, kind of like the double buns here. It was very popular in the Pop Teen and Ranzuki magazines. If hair is really your thing, then I would suggest look up the Betty Hair Bible. That one has so many unique options. It is a little bit harder to find the references for that one, but the Betty Hair Bible is an actual Gyaru hair Bible. This magazine is fully dedicated to Gyaru hair and Gyaru hair only. Now, while unfortunately the Betty Hair Bible is really hard to find on the internet, the more popular magazines can all be found on Internet Archive. You do not have to Google search or rely on Pinterest, or you don't have to buy hard copy magazines to have references. Gal magazines can be viewed for free. Your journey also depends on where your makeup skills start. The higher the skill, the faster the evolution. Now, I want to discuss a little bit of a battle, a little bit of a feud, a little bit of drama, okay? The Gyaru versus Jirai hate. I don't understand it. We are basically different sides of the same coin. Now, a lot of people might not like hearing that, so let's go over a little bit of Jirai history that kind of correlates with gal history. Let's look at Jirai. It has PN makeup to mimic the look of crying. It's cutesy, puffy. The Namera Bokuro is still there. It's more related to girls struggling with mental health, often trying to break the stigma and express themselves freely. A big color scheme is pink and black. It's cutesy with dark feminine clothing. It has more recent style history than Gyaru, as it started in the 2010s, and it stemmed from what I believe is Larm K, which stemmed from what? Larm stemmed from Himekaji in Gyaru, okay? That's the pipeline. Now, remember how we said that Gyaru is big in Shibuya? Well, Jirai comes from Kabukicho, which, guess what? They're literally right next to each other. They're basically in the same neighborhood. Plus, Gyaru also has a sub-style that's heavy in pink and black. Agejo, anybody? Jirai has a lot of stereotypes as well. Jirai are seen as angry, depressed, unstable, crazy, delicate, and fragile, possessive. They're a booming fashion culture that's popular all over currently. Gyaru is seen as bitchy, promiscuous, angry, aggressive, alcoholics, misbehaved, wild women, right? Like, we're seen as some party club drinking girls that drink all day long, sleep with everybody. Like, we have a problem with the Western J-fashion community, like TikTokers, often taking stereotypes as reality. Coming from an autistic girly, some of you think a little too literal. How else are these two styles very similar? Both often consist of a form of droop in their makeup and eye enlarging contacts. Both styles typically have straight, thin brows, but Jirai have more sad, downturned brows, and Gyaru typically thin and a little bit lifted. Both styles are just trying to break a stigma or standard in society. Both styles are trying to freely express themselves. Both are very controversial in society. Now, both styles have a big history in sex work, with hosts being the kyabajo, the host bars themselves being kyabakura. Gyaru also have some brands that are also in line with Jirai. Liz Lisa, Mars, and even Don Quixote are shared brands in the styles. Both gals and Jirai have pics in the Donkey slides, gal charms, and clothing collabs. Even Egg released a song about Donkey, but is also very prevalent in Jirai culture as well. In the early stages of both, there were a lot of runaways, homeless gals in Jirai from bad family environments, either criticism, abuse, disapproval, or disowning due to not fitting into society. Now, both of these styles are extremely sexualized with the history, and they just have different ways of dealing with it. Gyaru like to reclaim it, and Jirai showcase more of the problematic side effects of the sexualization. Now, drinking culture and drinking problems are very heavy in both cultures due to the hosting history and Japanese society. Gal party culture versus Jirai coping culture. This is due to the way society treats us, not something fun, cute, and whimsical. Neither style or culture is all sunshine and rainbows, okay? We both have parts of our culture we would rather not discuss or let it become well known. Now, the origin locations used to both be red light districts at some point, which red light districts are sex work locations. Now, in both styles, our fashion is heavily categorized by the makeup. The makeup is kind of everything. Jirai is way more strict on clothing than Gyaru, but the makeup is still, a lot of Jirai will argue that you cannot be Jirai without the makeup. Now, I believe in both styles, the Western popularization is kind of ruining our culture. It's plagued with misinformation. Any alt style or unique styles have these younger gens on TikTok not understanding everything about the culture and spreading misinformation, then defending it and gatekeeping. It happens all the time in J fashion, goth fashion, the emo/scene community, in any alternative style, but especially in J fashion for some reason. Sharing it makes the movement feel more impactful, and it recognizes them as beautiful when society says they aren't. Now, I'm no expert in Jirai. I'm a Gyaru, I'm not Jirai. So if you want to share Jirai information and more reasons that we might be a little bit more alike than we think, let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to see me try Jirai makeup sometime, also let me know down in the comments below. I really hope this kind of inspires you all to stop hating on each other so much and give a little bit of grace and give a little bit more kindness to people that might be more similar to us than we think. As for now, that was everything that I personally wanted to cover and everything that I've thought of for now. If I think of more, I will be making a part 2. Let me know any comments or questions down below that you have that I may have missed, may not have covered. If you want more Gyaru informative videos and just want more Gyaru content, I would personally check out Ray Bunny as well as Elle on YouTube. I really love their content. I think they're wonderful creators. Both of them will be linked down in the description below, so go check them out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all!